All right, buckle up everybody, because today we are diving headfirst into the world of cybersecurity.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, and a little daunting if we're being honest.
I mean, it's kind of our world these days, isn't it? Cybersecurity.
Yeah, for better or
Or
worse.
better or worse.
But today we're getting specific. We're talking all about Rhino cybersecurity.
All right, so what do they do?
Yeah, what do they do? What makes them different? Because I was looking over the material for this deep dive, and man, they are not your average cybersecurity company.
Really?
Oh yeah, they are taking it to a whole nother level.
Well, I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
So imagine, right, you're a business owner, you're killing it, your company is thriving, you're like, yes, this is it, I made it. But then you realize, cybersecurity, oh, that little thing.
Yeah, what about it?
Like, you suddenly realize how vulnerable you are.
You get that cold sweat?
Oh yeah, big time.
Like anyone could just waltz right in and take everything.
Exactly, and that's where Rhino comes in, but not in the way you might think.
Okay, how so?
So they're all about this concept of GRC, governance, risk management, and compliance.
A holistic approach?
Yeah, it's not just about firewalls and antivirus. It's about weaving, like, the fabric of security into the very essence of your business.
I like that, a fabric of security.
Right, so it's not just a tech thing. It's a whole company culture thing.
That's smart because at the end of the day, it's often human error that causes the biggest problems, isn't it?
It really is, and Rhino gets that.
So they're trying to get everyone on board thinking about security, not just the IT guys.
Exactly.
Smart.
So how does this GRC thing actually work in practice?
Yeah.
What are they doing differently?
Well, they start by acknowledging that every business is different. So there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Right, cookie-cutter security just doesn't cut it.
Exactly. So they work with each client to develop customized solutions that meet their specific needs and goals.
Okay, so like tailor-made security suits.
Yeah, I like that. And that starts with really understanding the business, their industry, their risk tolerance, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like a deep dive before the deep dive.
You could say that.
All right, I'm sold. Sign me up.
Yeah.
But seriously, what are some of the specific services they offer?
Well, they've got a whole suite of them, but some of the most impactful are policy and compliance management, cyber risk management, and business continuity.
Okay, a lot to unpack there. Let's start with policy and compliance management.
All right, so the thing is, a lot of companies have these rigid, super strict security policies, which on paper sounds great, right? Super secure.
Yeah, lock everything down.
But in reality, it can actually stifle a business.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When employees can't do their jobs efficiently because of all the security roadblocks, it hinders productivity.
And that's bad for everyone.
It is.
So what's Rhino's approach? How do they do things differently?
They work with clients to create custom authorization models that actually make sense for their specific operations.
So it's like flexible security.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance between security and agility, making sure compliance doesn't get in the way of actually getting work done.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And they understand that different data has different levels of sensitivity.
Oh, so like not all data needs to be treated with the same level of Fort Knox security.
Exactly. Some information is critical, top secret, needs to be locked down tight.
But other stuff, maybe not so much.
Precisely. So it's about creating a tiered system, right? Protecting the crown jewels while still allowing access to the everyday tools and information.
So it's like a security system with different levels of access. Like you need a special key card to get into the vault, but you can use your regular ID badge to get into the break room.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's about being strategic and understanding the nuances of the business.
Okay, that's really interesting. So it's not just a blanket approach. It's very tailored and specific.
Exactly.
Now, what about cyber risk management? That sounds intense.
It is, because we're not just talking about your internal risks here. We're talking about your vendors, your partners, everyone you do business with.
Oh, so like it's not enough to just secure your own castle. You got to make sure the surrounding villages aren't leaving their gates wide open.
Exactly. Remember that SolarWinds breach a few years back?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that a supply chain attack?
Yeah.
Totally shook things up.
Exactly. And it highlighted how vulnerable companies can be to these third-party risks.
Okay, so how does Rhino help with that?
They help you understand those risks, identify potential vulnerabilities, and then develop a plan to mitigate them.
So it's like due diligence, but for the digital age.
Exactly. And it could involve technology solutions, procedural changes, even contractual agreements with those third parties.
So it's about holding everyone accountable for security, not just you.
Exactly. Because in today's interconnected world, a weakness in one link can bring down the whole chain.
That's a great point, and a sobering one.
It is.
Now, on to something that honestly I think a lot of companies overlook, business continuity.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
What happens if a hurricane takes out your data center or, I don't know, a ransomware attack cripples your systems? Like, what's the plan?
It's the what-if scenario no one wants to think about.
But we have to.
We do, and Rhino gets that.
Okay, so how do they approach business continuity?
They help businesses create a plan, a detailed roadmap that outlines exactly how they'll keep operating even during a major disruption.
So it's like having an escape route mapped out, but for your entire business.
That's a great way to put it. They help you identify critical functions, set up backups and redundancy systems, and even develop communication protocols.
Oh, so everyone knows what to do, who to contact, how to keep things running.
Exactly. It's about minimizing downtime and ensuring that the business can not only survive a disaster, but actually recover and thrive.
That's huge peace of mind, knowing that you're not just going to be left floundering if something bad happens.
Absolutely. And it's a crucial part of building that resilience we talked about earlier.
Okay, so we've got policy and compliance management, cyber risk management, and business continuity.
It's a trifecta.
Yeah, the trifecta of a secure and resilient business.
And that's just the beginning.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. Buckle up. We're just getting started.
All right, bring it on. I'm ready for more.
All right, let's talk about something that's constantly evolving. Cyber risk policy.
Oh, this is where things get tricky, right?
They do.
Because cyber threats are like, they're evolving faster than, I don't know, a chameleon in a disco.
I love that analogy.
So how can any business keep its policies up to date? What was cutting edge a year ago might be totally useless today.
You're absolutely right, and that's where Rhino's cyber policy reviews come in.
Okay, tell me more.
They take a deep dive into your existing policies, compare them to the latest threats and best practices, and then work with you to develop updates and improvements.
So it's not just a one-time thing. They're constantly monitoring the threat landscape and making sure your policies are evolving along with it.
Precisely. They're like your cybersecurity Sherpas, guiding you through the ever-changing terrain.
I like that cybersecurity Sherpas.
And what's fascinating here is that they often uncover vulnerabilities that companies didn't even realize they had.
Really? Give me an example.
You'd be surprised how often something as simple as outdated software on a critical system can create a massive security hole.
It's like forgetting to lock your back door because you're so focused on fortifying the front entrance.
Exactly.
Mm.
Those seemingly small oversights can have huge consequences.
Okay, so it's about attention to detail, about those little things that can make a big difference.
It is, and Rhino's cyber policy reviews help businesses stay ahead of the curve and address those vulnerabilities before they can be exploited.
Okay, that's huge. So it's not just about reacting to threats, it's about proactively preventing them.
Exactly, and that's where Rhino really shines.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
They seem to be all about that proactive, holistic, we've got your back approach.
They are, and it's what sets them apart in the cybersecurity world.
Okay, so we've talked about policies, but what about compliance? That's a whole other beast, isn't it?
It can be. There's a whole alphabet soup of regulations and standards out there, and it can be tough to keep track of it all.
Oh, tell me about it. It's enough to make your head spin, especially for businesses that might not have dedicated compliance teams.
It is, but Rhino breaks it down into key areas like SOC2, NIST 853, ISO 2701, GDPR, PCI DSS, and HIPAA.
Okay, I know our listeners are familiar with the basics, but can we just do a quick rundown of what each one actually means? You know, just a little refresher.
Of course. So SOC2, this one's all about trust.
Trust.
Yeah, it's about demonstrating to your clients and stakeholders that your systems and controls are designed to protect their data.
So it's like a badge of honor, a way to prove you're taking data security seriously.
Exactly. Now, NIST 853, this one's primarily for federal information systems and organizations, but a lot of its guidelines are considered best practices for any organization.
Okay, so even if you're not working directly with the government, there's a lot to be gained from aligning with those standards.
Absolutely. It's like having a security playbook that's been battle-tested by the experts.
Okay, what about ISO 27001? That one always sounds particularly daunting.
It's definitely the most holistic of the bunch.
Okay, how so?
It's about establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving an information security management system.
Okay, so it's not just about implementing specific technologies, it's about embedding security into the DNA of the business.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of security that permeates every level of the organization.
Okay, Now on to GDPR, the one everyone's talking about.
Right. GDPR, it's all about protecting the personal data of individuals within the European Union.
So even if you're not based in Europe, if you have European customers, you got to comply with GDPR.
You do, and the penalties for non-compliance can be pretty hefty.
Yeah, no one wants to mess with that.
But beyond the fines, it's about building trust with your customers.
Right, because if you're not handling their data responsibly, they're going to take their business elsewhere.
Exactly. It's about reputation, about showing your customers that you care about their privacy and security.
Okay, what about PCI DSS? That was all about credit cards, right?
Exactly. If you're processing credit card payments, you gotta be PCI DSS compliant.
No question about it.
It outlines a set of security controls designed to protect cardholder data and prevent fraud.
So it's about making sure those credit card transactions are safe and secure.
Exactly. And finally, we have HIPAA, the healthcare one.
Right, if you're dealing with any kind of patient data, HIPAA is your guiding star.
Precisely. It's about protecting the privacy and security of sensitive health information.
Okay, that was a lot of acronyms.
I know, it's a lot to keep track of.
But you did a great job of explaining it all, thanks.
My pleasure.
So it's clear that compliance is crucial, but it can be overwhelming for businesses, especially smaller ones that might not have dedicated compliance teams.
It can be.
And that's where Rhino comes in, right?
Absolutely. They have expertise in all of these compliance areas, and they can help businesses navigate this complex landscape and ensure they're meeting all the necessary requirements.
It's like having a guide to help you through the maze.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've got the expertise, but do they have the experience? Like, have they actually helped businesses overcome real-world security challenges?
Oh, yeah, they've got a ton of real-world experience.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, so I was working with this tech startup, right? And they were getting hammered with phishing attacks.
Oh, that's never good.
It wasn't.
So what did they do?
Well, they brought in Rhino, and the first thing Rhino did was implement a comprehensive security awareness training program for all the employees.
Okay, so they're not just focusing on the technology, they're focusing on the people as well.
Exactly. And the results were amazing. They saw a significant decrease in phishing attempts.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was, and it just goes to show that sometimes the simplest solutions can be the most effective.
Right, it's about empowering employees to be part of the solution, to be that first line of defense.
Exactly, and that's something Rhino really excels at.
Okay, so they've got the expertise, the experience, the holistic approach, but what about the results? Like, are their clients actually happy?
Oh yeah, they've got tons of glowing testimonials from satisfied clients.
Okay, give me a few highlights.
All right, so we've got the president of a law firm who was blown away by their risk mitigation strategies.
Okay, that's high praise, especially coming from someone in a field where data confidentiality is paramount.
Exactly. And then there's the CEO of a manufacturing company who was struggling to strengthen his security posture.
So a completely different industry, but still seeing great results.
Exactly. He praised their deep knowledge and professionalism, said they helped him understand the risks and implement practical solutions.
Okay, so they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
They are.
All right, I'm liking what I'm hearing so far, but there's still one big question I have.
What's that?
In a world where cyber threats are constantly evolving, how do they stay ahead of the curve?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And one we'll dive into next time.
Ooh, cliffhanger. All right, listeners, you'll have to tune in to the next part of our deep dive to find out how Rhino stays ahead of those pesky cybercriminals.
Stay tuned. It's going to be good.
It always is.
Always is. All right, so picking up where we left off, remember that million-dollar question. How does Rhino stay ahead of the curve?
I do, and I'm ready for some answers.
Okay, well, first off, they're obsessed with staying on top of the latest threats.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly monitoring the threat landscape, attending industry conferences, reading research papers, talking to experts, you name it.
So they're like the cybersecurity equivalent of intelligence agents always gathering intel.
Exactly. They're constantly learning, adapting, evolving their strategies to stay one step ahead of the bad guys.
Because the bad guys, let's be honest, they're not exactly slacking off.
Oh, they're definitely not. They're getting more sophisticated all the time, using AI, machine learning, you name it.
It's like a constant arms race.
It is, and that's why Rhino invests so heavily in research and development.
Okay, so they're staying informed, but what about their team? How do they make sure their people are up to the task?
Well, they've got this rigorous training program, both for new hires and existing employees.
So they're constantly upskilling their workforce, making sure everyone's got the latest knowledge and skills.
Exactly. And they also encourage professional development, certifications, all that good stuff.
So they're investing in their people, which ultimately benefits their clients.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, it's the people who make the difference.
Okay, so we've got the intel gathering, the training programs, but what about technology? Are they embracing the latest cybersecurity tools and platforms?
Oh, yeah, they're all over that. They're constantly evaluating new technologies, testing them out, seeing how they can integrate them into their solutions.
So they're not afraid to experiment, to try new things.
Not at all. They're early adopters, always looking for that edge.
And they're not just relying on off-the-shelf solutions, are they?
Nope, they also develop their own proprietary tools and technologies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've got some pretty impressive stuff going on behind the scenes.
I bet so they're like a cybersecurity think tank, constantly innovating and pushing the boundaries.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so they're staying informed, training their team, embracing new technologies. But how does all of this translate into real-world results for their clients?
Well, that's the most important part, right?
It,
And the results speak for themselves.
Give me some examples.
All right, so I was working with this manufacturing company, right? And they were really struggling with compliance. They had to meet all these different regulations, SOC2, ISO 2701, you name it, and they were just drowning in paperwork.
I can imagine.
So they brought in Rhino, and Rhino helped them streamline their compliance processes, automate a lot of the tasks, and actually make sense of it all.
So they didn't just tell them what to do, they actually helped them do it.
Exactly. And the result? They achieved compliance across the board, and they actually saved money in the process.
Wow, that's impressive.
It was, and it just shows how Rhino's expertise and practical approach can really make a difference.
Okay, what other success stories do you have?
All right, so there was this financial services company, right? And they were really concerned about data breaches.
I mean, who isn't these days?
Right, so Rhino came in and did a thorough security assessment, identified some vulnerabilities, and then helped them implement a multi-layered security strategy.
So it's not just about one magic bullet. It's about creating a comprehensive defense system.
Exactly, and it worked. They haven't had a breach since.
That's peace of mind right there.
It is.
Okay, so we've heard about compliance success, data breach prevention, but what about the more proactive side of things? How do they help companies identify and address vulnerabilities before they can be exploited?
That's where their vulnerability management services come in.
Okay, tell me more.
They use a combination of automated tools and manual testing to scan systems and applications for weaknesses.
So they're not just relying on technology, they're also using human expertise.
Exactly, because technology can only take you so far.
Right. You need that human element to analyze the results, interpret the data, make informed decisions.
Precisely, and that's what Rhino's team excels at.
Okay, so they find the vulnerabilities, then what?
They work with the client to develop a remediation plan, prioritize the most critical issues, and then help them implement the necessary fixes.
So it's not just about finding the problems, it's about solving them.
Exactly. And they don't just hand over a report and say, good luck. They're there every step of the way, providing guidance and support.
Okay, so vulnerability management, it's about being proactive, about finding and fixing those weaknesses before the bad guys can exploit them.
It is, and it's an ongoing process, not a one-time thing.
Right, because new vulnerabilities are always emerging.
Exactly. And Rhino helps their clients stay on top of those threats, adapt their defenses, and maintain a strong security posture.
Now, I know we talked about this before, but I think it's worth repeating. Rhino's team is pretty unique, right?
It is. They've got former CISOs, law enforcement agents, IT and security executives, digital forensics scientists, intelligence analysts, regulatory specialists, you name it.
It's like the cybersecurity A-team.
It is, and that diversity of experience is what allows them to approach cybersecurity from multiple angles.
Okay, so they're not just looking at things through a technical lens. They're also considering the human element, the legal implications, the business impact.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach, and it's what makes them so effective.
Now, earlier we talked about the cost of cybersecurity and how some businesses, especially smaller ones, might be hesitant to invest. But I think it's important to flip that script and talk about the cost of not investing in cybersecurity.
Absolutely, because a data breach, a ransomware attack, a cyber incident of any kind, that can be financially devastating for a business.
It can put you out of business.
It can, and it's not just the financial cost, it's the reputational damage, the loss of customer trust, the legal and regulatory headaches.
It's a nightmare scenario.
It is, and it's something that every business needs to take seriously.
So investing in cybersecurity, it's not just an expense, it's an insurance policy.
Exactly. And Rhino understands that businesses need to make smart investments, so they offer a range of solutions that are scalable and affordable.
So they're not just catering to the big corporations with deep pockets.
Not at all. They work with businesses of all sizes and budgets, and they're always transparent about their pricing.
Okay, that's good to know.
And they're not just focused on selling you the most expensive package, they're focused on finding the right solution for your business.
So it's a consultative approach about understanding your needs and developing a plan that works for you.
Exactly. And they're always there to answer questions, provide guidance, and help you navigate the complexities of cybersecurity.
Okay, so we've talked about the cost of cybersecurity, but what about the ethical considerations? Like, how do they make sure they're operating responsibly and ethically?
That's a great question, and it's something Rhino takes very seriously.
Okay, how so?
Well, for starters, they have a strong code of ethics that all employees must adhere to.
There's not just lip service, it's embedded in their company culture.
Exactly, and they're also transparent about their data collection and usage practices.
Okay, so they're not selling your data to third parties or doing anything shady behind the scenes.
Nope, they're committed to protecting the privacy and security of their clients' data.
And they're also committed to responsible vulnerability disclosure, right?
Absolutely. When they find a vulnerability, they follow a strict process to notify the vendor and give them time to develop a patch before they publicly disclose it.
Okay, so they're not just exploiting vulnerabilities for their own gain. They're actually working to make the internet a safer place.
Exactly. They're part of the solution, not part of the problem.
I like that.
And they're also big on giving back to the community. They offer free security awareness training to schools and nonprofits.
So they're not just about making money, they're about making a difference.
They are, and that's something I really respect about them.
Okay, so ethical considerations, check. Now, let's talk about the future.
All right, the future of cybersecurity.
Yeah, where do they see themselves fitting into the ever-evolving landscape of cyber threats?
Well, they're constantly innovating, investing in new technologies, expanding their service offerings.
Okay, give me some specifics.
Well, they're really interested in AI and machine learning, how those technologies can be used to enhance threat detection and response.
Right, because AI can analyze massive amounts of data, spot patterns that humans might miss.
Exactly. And it can automate a lot of the tasks that security professionals currently do manually, freeing them up to focus on more strategic initiatives.
Okay, so AI, what else?
They're also investing in cloud security, recognizing that more and more businesses are moving their operations to the cloud.
Right, because the cloud presents its own unique set of security challenges.
It does, and Rhino is developing solutions to help businesses secure their cloud environments and protect their data from cloud-specific threats.
Okay, so AI, cloud security, what else is on their radar?
They're also looking at the Internet of Things, IoT, which is becoming increasingly important as more and more devices are connected to the Internet.
Yeah, we're talking about everything from smart thermostats to industrial control systems.
Exactly, and Rhino is developing solutions to help businesses secure their IoT devices and protect their networks from IoT-related threats.
So they're staying ahead of the curve, anticipating future trends, making sure their clients are prepared for whatever comes next.
They are, and that's why I'm so impressed with them. They're not just reacting to the latest threats, they're actively shaping the future of cybersecurity.
All right, I'm sold. Where do I sign up?
Well, that's a conversation for another time.
I know, but seriously, I'm really liking what I'm hearing about Rhino.
I am too. They're a company that's doing things right. They're ethical, they're innovative, they're client-focused.
And they're getting results.
They are, and I think that's what matters most at the end of the day.
All right, well, on that note, I think it's time to move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, I'm ready.
Me too, let's do it. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground about Rhino, but if there's one thing I want our listeners to walk away with, it's this.
What's that?
Don't wait. Don't wait until you're staring down a cyber attack to take action.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Like, what's one TNY thing someone listening can do right now to up their security game, even before they call up Rhino?
It's funny, we talk about all this advanced stuff, but so many attacks exploit basic vulnerabilities, the stuff people just forget about.
Like what? Spill the beans?
Software updates, man.
Software updates, really?
I'm serious.
Huh?
Especially operating systems, your web browsers, anything that's like directly facing the internet.
But those are such a pain sometimes.
I know, but seriously, make sure you're running the latest versions, make sure those updates are happening.
Okay, so basic cyber hygiene.
Exactly, it's like locking your front door.
It's not going to stop a determined burglar.
Right, but it'll deter the opportunists.
Okay, I can get behind that. Small step, big potential payoff.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about how Rhino is different, that team they've built with all that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Why should that matter to, say, a bakery owner who's just worried about keeping their ovens hot and their customers happy.
Because cyber threats, they don't care if you're a Fortune 500 company or a local bakery.
Everyone's a target these days.
Exactly. And having that team means Rhino can apply, like, the same level of expertise they'd use for a huge corporation to protect that bakery, too.
So it's like leveling the playing field.
Yeah, small businesses get the same high-powered protection.
Now, one last thing I'm curious about.
Hit me.
We keep saying Rhino is more than a vendor. They're a partner.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually look like for their clients? Like day to day? How do they live that?
It's about being there every step of the way, right? Like, compliance can feel like a huge burden.
Oh, tell me about it.
But Rhino helps their clients understand the why behind it, how it actually protects them, not just checking boxes.
So it's like turning compliance into a superpower instead of a chore.
Exactly. And it's the same with ongoing support. They're not just there for the initial setup, they're there for the long haul.
So you're not just on your own once the contract is signed.
Nope, you've got that expert guidance whenever you need it, whether it's for strategic planning or, God forbid, if something does happen and you need help with incident response.
Having that safety net has got to be huge for a business owner.
It takes a lot of the pressure off knowing you're not alone in this fight.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect note to wrap things up on.
I think so too.
We've explored Rhino cybersecurity inside and out, and I hope our listeners are walking away feeling a little less intimidated, a little more empowered when it comes to cybersecurity.
That's the goal.
Because it's not about living in fear, it's about taking action.
Being proactive.
Exactly. So, if you're ready to level up your cybersecurity game, I highly recommend checking out Rhino. They've got the expertise, the experience, and that client-focused approach that makes all the difference. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure.